This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
And I'm your host, Jason Glick. Okay, this week we're talking about an idea that's near and dear to most comics heart, or at least the comics published by Marvel and DC. That is continuity.
Continuity. That's that stuff where, the warp engine's supposed to go, a certain speed in one episode, and if it doesn't go that way in the other episode, or was it the warp engine was created by one guy, it doesn't do the same thing. Anyway, continuity.
Pretty much.
All right. So basically we have to make sure things line up.
Yeah, basically we're dealing with the problems with telling an ongoing story over years and years of time.
Okay.
It's after a lot of comics published by Marvel and DC have been going on for 40 plus years now.
Right.
And at this point you got to wonder what point does continuity become a burden versus being an asset? I mean, it's if you're going to require someone to know say all the stuff that's gone on in the past 10, 20, or even 30 years, prior to reading this comic, I mean, what's the point of having it around then?
Right. So they have an encyclopedia or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's even been there's an industry in this. I mean, Marvel and DC continue to publish guides to see what's going on with all these characters, and what's characters, stories, all stuff that's been going on for history. Mining their history has been a big business, more so for DC over the years. Though with Marvel, it's as far as continuity goes, there's one particular series that's been made a business of having an unwieldy continuity for years now, and of course I speak of the X-Men.
X-Men.
Yeah, because the X-Men have been one of the best-selling franchises for Marvel and comics in general over the last few decades. They've always been notorious for having a problem with, sure, we know that they're mutants. They're aberrations in normal society, and they're hated and feared. They sworn to protect on everyone in as part of their mentor Professor Xavier's dream for humans and mutants to live together. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that general mission statement isn't enough these days to get just an X-Men story, because now X-Men stories have been built over years of soap opera between hundreds of mutants' individual storylines. It's you see one character and they've had a storyline that's going on for years. And you're well, how do I get into this? How am I gonna be able to appreciate the story if I don't know all this stuff? Well, you see, every once in a while Marvel declares, hey, you know what? This is a perfect jumping on point. This is for new readers and old fans, this is gonna be the perfect storylines you can start reading and not have to worry about continuity at all.
So basically, I'll just make one up. Asteroid hits the Earth. Now what? Are you talking about stuff like that?
Kind of, yeah, but usually more often than not coincides with a new writer or artist coming along.
Okay.
And this ties into basically the comic book I'm talking about right now, Supernovas.
All right.
Which collects the first year of stories by new writer Mike Carey.
Alrighty.
Now Carey has made his name writing weird supernatural stories for Vertigo, best known for his excellent run on Lucifer and his much less so run on Hellblazer. Mm-hmm. But Carey actually has a fairly good handle on X-Men continuity for someone who's been writing for DC for the past several years. And this actually makes Supernovas a better jumping on point than most for new readers. Though when I say new readers, I mean people who've read X-Men in the past, as opposed to people who've never read X-Men stories before. Because if you've never read X-Men stories before, you're going to look at this and go, duh, who are these people?
Yeah, exactly. Wolverine?
Yeah, I mean, actually, Wolverine doesn't even show up a whole lot in this story. I mean, he shows up a little while because he's an X-Man.
Right.
But more often than not, the new X-Men team that Carey focuses on is with Mystique, Sabretooth, Cable, Cannonball, Iceman, Lady Mastermind, and Omega Sentinel. And you're probably thinking I know Mystique and Sabretooth and Iceman, but who are these other people?
I know. I know Cable, and I know a lot of these other guys. So,
yeah.
But
yeah, because the thing is,
but I mean, and I can totally see the point of view of someone. It's oh, I saw the third X-Men movie. I haven't seen anything else. I liked it. Let me pick up this.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Because if you're coming to this from reading the X-Men movies, and the X-Men movies, and which are great by themselves, but really, it's they're best enjoyed independently from the comics, because there's really no way to line them up directly with the comics themselves.
Yeah.
And to be honest, let me digress for a second by saying that if you're looking for the one X-Men story you need to read, that you just read this and then just not bother with X-Men ever again, read Grant Morrison's New X-Men. Currently available in a nice one-volume omnibus for $100, which is well worth the price, and currently being reprinted right now in 3 softcover editions as well.
Cool.
That's the absolute one story you need to read, as far as I'm concerned. However, if you do have an affinity for X-Men and you like their history, then Supernovas is also a good buy as well, because Cary does have a great handle on the characters. He's writing them properly. If you've read the series before, you'll look at this and see like, hey, you know what? I remember these characters. This is how they used to act. This is exactly what I want from an X-Men story. It's a bunch of people beating the crap out of each other with some nice ideas thrown in as well. And there are also lots of good ideas as well, because even though Cary's imagination has previously been demonstrated to be more on the imaginative supernatural side, he does display a decent handle on what it takes to write a good X-Men story here. Because the first story, basically, there are 4 separate stories collected here. Basically, the first story involves a group called the Children of the Vault, a group of time-accelerated humans who basically undergone several thousand years of evolution in the space of a few years, but have now been awakened and basically see the X-Men and other mutants as a threat to their existence. And basically going to wipe them out. Yeah. The second story basically is just like a big whack of the reset button for 2 characters, North Star and Aurora, 2 members of Alpha who Cary has an obvious affinity for, and they've been basically they've been devolved into mindless killers, and Cary just goes and hits the reset button for them, while also setting up the crossover for the current X-Men crossover called Messiah Conflicts, which maybe I'll touch upon in a later podcast. Then you've got another story after that where Rogue, the X-Men who has the ability to absorb other mutants' powers, basically winds up being a target of a mad scientist named Pandemic who wants to use her powers to live forever. And finally, it wraps up with after Rogue gets infected with a bad virus and Pandemic, she winds up being taken to Cable's island utopia of I wish I could remember it off the top of my head, but she gets taken to his island utopia to be healed. Mm-hmm. Problem is, this also represents a culmination of the entire years of the plot lines. They also have a Shi'ar weapon, which is the Space Empire, from other X-Men comics. Basically, they've got one of their weapons physically finds its way to this island colony after being tracked by something else, and now basically winds up destroying Cable's colony while the X-Men have to fight it off. Now, I say this is I don't say this is great arty comics, but it's good X-Men stuff. Lots of stuff being fought, lots of good ideas being told, with lots of great art as well from Chris Bacalo, Clayton Henry, Humberto Ramos, and Mark Brooks. Ramos does Bacalo does a great job. Even though he tends to sacrifice clarity for detail, most of the time he does do a good job of telling the story and doing lots of nice, great images as well, such as the Hecatomb, the Shi'ar weapon that basically makes mincemeat of Cable's island colony. Mm-hmm. And it's while Clayton Henry's and Mark Brooks' art does good superhero stuff, Humberto Ramos has a great, nice cartoony style that lends itself well to the great action in the Pandemic arc.
Okay.
But really, it's this is only an appeal for people who've liked X-Men in the past before. I mean, you've read X-Men stories before. You're going to read this and think, hey, this is going to be a nice warm feeling about X-Men I used to like. Everyone else, you're going to probably be totally lost by this. I mean, because most of the time when Norman Marvel says this is a great jumping on point, it's usually bullshit. Yeah. Yeah, but this, like I said, if you have, you're an old X-Men fan, and you've wondered, hey, what are the X-Men up to these days? I'd like to know. Supernova's, good place to start.
Excellent.
Yeah. But hey, that's just for series that are still going with 40 years of continuity, because every once in a while, Marvel or DC would decide to go and hit the reset button and figured, hey, this series has carried too much continuity, it's become a burden to this thing. We're just going to go ahead and hit the reset button and give everyone a clean start. Mm-hmm. Now, DC loves to do that for the entire universe. Marvel realizes that, hey, our continuity isn't that bad. We can still make a go of things. But, hey, what if we decided, what if our characters were created today instead of in the past? Mm. That's where the ultimate imprint from Marvel comes from. And this is where they've given fresh starts to characters like Spiderman, the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and the Avengers.
So Spider-Man, we're gonna start with a spider bite again.
Yes, yeah, that's true. The thing is, though, it's like I like to, you might want to say, like, well, hey, if you were talking about X-Men before, why don't you talk about Ultimate X-Men right now? The Ultimate Titles X-Men series. And while there's been plenty of good Ultimate X-Men stories, it's kind of gone off the rails after a while because it's had several different creators over the years. And like there's getting to the point where we're experiencing diminishing returns. And I kind of fear like it's like if the series is, I'm kind of buying the series because I've liked what's gone before, but whatever. Anyway, that can't be said of Ultimate Spider-Man, which for my money, hey, if you like Spider-Man, this is a series you have to read because Ultimate Spider-Man, it speaks about Peter Parker. He was bitten by a spider, and he's given powers proportional to a spider. And he goes and has adventures, like fighting against like supervillains like Kraven the Hunter, it's like Dr. Octopus, and the Green Goblin.
Right.
But what makes Ultimate Spider-Man work, if I say more to the point than just about any other title published by Marvel and DC these days, is that it's from first volume to its current 19th volume. It's been written by the same person, Brian Michael Bendis, and Bendis has a great handle about how to make Spider-Man work. I mean, he just knows that Spider-Man's like he's insecure. He likes to make jokes when things get tough. But he's got a great sense of honor and duty about the whole great power means great responsibility. Right. He understands what makes Spider-Man work, and he's demonstrated that throughout all the 19 volumes of Spider-Man that he's written so far. Even more impressively is that for 18 of these volumes, they were all illustrated by Mark Bagley.
Wow.
Yeah, he throws in some great Spider-Man art, and it's impressive. He's actually been able to keep with the frequency of Bendis' scripts all these years, but Bagley, it's like he's just done such a great job, and the new artist Stuart Immonen has also done a great job of like taking over for him, giving the series like a new energy and giving the art a more kinetic feel than it's had previously. With Spider-Man, but Ultimate Spider-Man, it's just, it's like all you need to know is just like the basic gist of Spider-Man in order to enjoy this. And like when you look at what's going on in the regular Marvel Universe continuity, where Spider-Man's marriage has recently been annulled by Satan, in order so they can reset Spider-Man's status quo back to the swinging 70s, where he's not married to Mary Jane, he's just going around having fun. And I've heard these stories aren't supposed to be that bad. I mean, just the fact that they had to bring in Satan, or Marvel Universe's equivalent, Mephisto, to do this. I mean, it just shows you how far off they've gone. I mean, like, if you like Spider-Man from the movies, Ultimate Spider-Man, he's that Spider-Man.
So it's kind of a clean cut, and come back to the just the base premise of what he is, instead of trying to pull the story out from the originals.
Exactly. I mean, this is, like I said, this is kind of like Ultimate Spider-Man is kind of what the regular Marvel Universe Spider-Man titles kind of aspire to do at the moment.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and even then, after 100 plus issues now, like it's still being written by Bendis, and even then, it's like you're still got a certain amount of continuity. I mean, Bendis is still kind of have an overarching story with recurring characters like Spider-Man's conflicts with Dr. Octopus and the Green Goblin, and like there's some points you can't just, well, some later volumes are more newbie friendly than others. There are some ones where it actually do draw directly on what has gone before. So like you got your issues with continuity there. It's not as pressing as they are in, say, X-Men or most other superhero titles, but they're still there. Now, when it comes to running a series for over 40 years and making continuity less of an issue than before, well, I can put this. Leave it to the Japanese to show us how it's done.
That's right.
Yeah, because we're reading this week's manga title is none other than Golgo 13.
Gotcha.
Because you see, recently, a couple months back, Viz finished publishing 13 volumes of Golgo 13's greatest hits, so to speak. But Golgo 13 has been running for over 40 years in Japan and has gotten over some 500 missions. And really, it's like the secret to Golgo 13's success. I mean, like, because all you need to know about Golgo 13 in order to enjoy any one of his random volumes. I mean, you can just pick it like just about any volume and enjoy it. Because all you need to know is Golgo 13 is the most badass assassin ever. Period. Because but the secret to this is that most of the stories aren't about Golgo 13. Like, there is no Golgo 13 story. Like, he's not trying to... Like, I've heard described by his creator, Takao Sato, that Golgo 13 is not a passionate man, but he is trying to become more passionate about things. And you can see elements of that in these stories, but pretty much, like, all the stories are just defined by Golgo 13's ironclad ethics about, like, handling any kind of hitman job. I mean, like, you look at... I imagine that you... Like, the Golgo 13 stories, the published by Viz, cover, like, a fairly wide, like, 20 or 30-year spectrum. And, like, he really hasn't changed at all. You can just look at any story from from one of these ones, and, like, that's the same Golgo 13 that was before. I mean, like, he's a master assassin. Like, he sleeps with like, occasional women because he's that sexually potent. Yeah. And, like, he'll do lots of crazy stuff. Like, the time he once spent time in prison with Nelson Mandela in order to complete a hit.
Huh.
Yeah, he even went to the Tiananmen Square uprising in order to take out some guy who the Tibetans needed to take out in order to secure their future.
So he's integrated himself. They've integrated some of these with real events that have happened in history.
Yeah, that's been kind of the trend with the Golgo 13 stories published. Is one for each volume. One story has been picked to tie in with current events. The other one has been published for pure pulp nostalgia. It's like show him how badass he was back in the 70s.
Right.
Like, one of the reasons, like, the last volume is probably the best example of this, because, like, it contains, like, a possible origin story for Golgo 13, which I think it's just generally a bad idea to, like, offer him a definitive origin. But this one is good enough to make you wish, hey, you know what? That would be a nice origin for Golgo. Now, but however, it's not quite as entertaining as the last volume as the other story, which basically deals with Golgo 13's part in the 2000 presidential elections in America. Because you know what? It turns out that Golgo 13 was a hanging Chad. Because he was hired by a guy who worked in the gardens in the Clinton administration, who just felt like Clinton was just such an amoral president in terms of his personal ethics, that he just wanted to hand the presidency to Bush over Gore. And it's just funny to look at this now and think, hey, you know what? You know, hindsight is 2020. I wish I knew what the writer for the story would have written had he known how things would have turned out.
Yeah.
But really, the more as I've read these stories from Golgo 13 over these 13 volumes, it really appears that, like, his secret success is that rather than just, like, having a stock formulaic Golgo 13 story, he most serves as a vehicle for the writers to tell their particular stories. Like, say, if they want to do like a spy thriller or a 70s gangster story, they can just bring in Golgo 13 to do this. Like, they can just tell the story, and then once the characters encounter like a problem they can't solve, they bring in Golgo 13 to take care of this. Now, I'm not saying there's a certain amount of formulaicness to all these stories, because, like, I mean, you know, Golgo 13, he's going to pull off every single, like, impossible hit they can imagine. I mean, that there are some problems with this where at one point he in order to pull off a hit, he tells this one mobster to give his son a belt that'll allow him to reflect bullets onto this one guy. I mean, you're saying, like, well, that's kind of like unrealistic. As is the first volume, which basically has a great setup for, like, Golgo 13 going to Iraq, take out this Iraqi super gun, but then, like, it's dealt with in, like, just 3 pages, because Golgo 13 pulled off this, like, it's a snipe across the water. I'm like, that was it?
That's it?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, like, well, I'm glad I gave that. See, that's the thing. It's like, if you do buy the series, the first volume is easily the weakest. After that, the stories keep getting better, up to the point where Golgo 13 has to go to perform a hit in outer space. Yeah, it's great, because there's a U.S. spy satellite that's just going to drift in front of a U.S.-Soviet peace conference in space, and he has to go out. He has to go there in order to. He has to snipe it out of its way, the satellite out of its way, in order to make sure this conference goes smoothly. But there are some elements in the American military who figure that, hey, you know what, Golgo 13, it's like, you can't trust him. He's an assassin. Yeah, just stuff like that. I mean, that's the essence of a good Golgo 13 story. And hey, it's great. And, like, that's really, it's like the way these 13 volumes turned out. I kind of wish for that they'd go and do 13 more, because there are also like lots of great extras in each story supplied by the series editor and adapter Carl Gustav Horn, who supplies his usual excellent translation for each volume. And really, more than anything else, I kind of wish that we'd see more cool 70s series like this, because I've talked in the past about how I bought The Drifting Classroom because I wanted to see more good old school series.
Right.
Golgo 13 is the embodiment of a good old school series I'd like to see more of.
So definitely a plus on all three of these different sets you have here.
Yeah, it just depends on your mentality. I mean, it's like, I can't say that Golgo 13 is going to really appeal to just about everyone, but if you're like a good like crime or suspense or action thriller. Oh, I have to talk about the time Golgo 13 like managed to stop a nuclear explosion by firing a grenade launcher at just the right point in a
wow! All right.
In a nuclear power plant. I mean, like, it could have been ridiculous, but that's also a good thing to point out. You can tell the writers for each of these stories do their research. Like there's enough details in each story to tell you that, hey, you know what? We're not just like making this shit up. We actually went and researched this stuff to know what's going to go on.
Right.
Yeah, but like it's varying degrees of recommendation for all of these. Like I said, if you've read X-Men before and you like them, but you haven't read them in years, I recommend Supernova as a good way to get back into things. If you like good Spider-Man stories, or just superhero stories in general, then Ultimate Spider-Man comes recommended without reservation.
Or if you just kind of like have a basic movie knowledge, maybe you could jump.
Yeah, if you like the Spider-Man movies and you want to read some more Spider-Man stories, Ultimate Spider-Man.
Just for you.
And if you like good action tales like span like for periods from like the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the aughts, like Golgo 13. It's like great action manga for fun for any fan who likes this stuff.
All right. Sounds pretty cool.
Yep. And on that note, that's it for this week.
All right. We'll catch you later. See you later.